the governor's kind of relaxing of many of the COVID virus restrictions, the Archdiocese of Baltimore, Archbishop Lurie, sharing the same as we discussed a little bit about that last week, of priest meeting with him this week. This past week, not only did we all meet with the Archbishop here locally, I and some of the staff met with the parish council, the staff met. I've been in constant and also discussion with Father Austin Murphy, my successor in a couple weeks, in terms of what his comfortability is and how best to move forward as things do open up, but being mindful, just because just declaring the virus is over doesn't make it over. It has been we decided that masks will continue to be worn until further notice, and the reasons are the following. So, not everybody is of an age to be vaccinated yet. Teenagers are just starting, and some of them may have had their second shot, but still there's many large percentage of that age group, and all children under 12 have not yet been invited, and therefore there's a vulnerability for them. And also those who are caring for a health illness, that you may look at somebody and they look like the picture of health, but none of us really know what's going on in a person's life. And any one of us can probably look around our assembly at any given week and time and recognizing, someone who's, whether they're in chemotherapy and their hair is gone, and, all of those symbols that remind us of the vulnerability of people's health conditions. And maybe those particular people have been coming to church because they feel safe and secure throughout the virus, because people are masked. We certainly do not want for them to feel it's too risky to come because people are not masking themselves. And also there's, since vaccination is not mandatory, and therefore if you are not vaccinated, the law does say you are to be masked, and we didn't want to set up a two-class system here of people being masked and unmasked, and you're unvaccinated, and it becomes a great divide, bigger than the Mason-Dixon line. And also we weren't going to police that at the same time. So there is a sense of keeping ourselves masked. It is a personal inconvenience. I think we all would most likely agree to that. It's not something we enjoy doing, but that personal inconvenience is outweighed by the common good and the health of each person. And hopefully in months to come, maybe when a higher percentage of the general population, especially the young population, which I just mentioned, once they have been vaccinated, then the staff can kind of review that for us here at St. Bernadette. Another reason is also in tandem with the governor saying people can be unmasked unless you're not vaccinated. The Archbishop and our metropolitan of bishops in this area have placed upon the obligation to attend Mass, which was kind of absolved or whatever. The obligation was not there for this past year. And therefore, many people who have not been coming and live streaming the Mass may feel more compelled to come. And if they haven't been here for a year, then walk in and see a lot of people unmasked. It may just be a U-turn and then walking out until they feel comfortable. Because many of us who've been coming week after week this past year have grown into a comfortability, thankfully for that. But with this obligation, too, I would ask that people be prudent, careful for yourself. The obligation assumes that you are well enough to attend and that attending Mass does not compromise or jeopardize your health or the health of anyone else that is here, because that is primary. The obligation of Mass does not trump our personal health and communal health. And our Masses will continue to be live streamed, all three of them. And as you saw today, we invited those who are live streaming to come and to the conference room, and Bob gave communion out today, this particular Mass, and we will continue to do that for anyone who wishes to receive Eucharist. Some of the things that are relaxed somewhat, social distancing, we may begin to relax that a little bit, putting 3 feet between each household. So as more people do come in, pews may be a little tighter, but we are, for the initial couple weeks, going to keep every other pew. vacant, and that'll probably be the first thing that we kind of relax more, reopening up a pew, and if the crowds still come in, the empty pew will still be there. Another thing we're going to relax, starting right now pretty much, is that registration will no longer be required. Now, personally, that scares me, and, just because having the registration allowed social distance, and I think many people felt comfortable, and I'm very thankful and appreciative of people participating in that. I mean, we always had like a 90 percentile of people registering. We always know things happen, you forget, all those things that are human nature, and everybody was cooperative beyond belief. But we did it because, our pews are not the same size across the board, like maybe, a church that was built, 100 years ago. It's like, 2 sets of pews, an aisle in the middle. So I do ask that maybe in the initial times we come, I know you come to different masses and you may be sitting at different places, and I kind of chose, the staff was choosing where you sat, and we hope you met new people doing that. But maybe go to the seats that you typically were assigned, because look around today, we probably had about a quarter of the people sitting here didn't register, and that's not a negative, but it's what kind of like, how do we make sure we're caring for each person walking in? So when you do come in, if you're a family of 2, I'd ask you maybe not sit immediately in a seat that's 21 feet long, which is, we do have those here. Maybe kind of sit to the end, giving people an opportunity, another family, maybe to sit on the other end. And today I think you all are nicely social distanced, even with the people who walked in, because we prepared for that at the same time. So I just ask you as you walk in to be mindful. Though you're not registering, it doesn't say totally relax. Again, we're trying to recognize that everyone's coming here with different feelings about their own health, communal health, and the like. And another thing we're relaxing is the cleaning of the pews. Today's going to be the last day to do so. And we're going to hopefully, between now and the next 2 weeks, Mike DuPont, well known to many of us, you see a couple pews in the back there. He's begun to try out how best to refresh them, restore them, rejuvenate them. And we're going to be asking if anybody would like to participate in that. He came, sanded down, lately sanded, varnished, and now they're drying over the next 2 weeks on doing that. So if you're interested in helping out, shoot an email to me, call the parish office, call me, and we'll get you hooked up when Mike will be here in a team as we try to do all 40-some pews over the next couple weeks. So when Father Murphy comes, it looks like a new house for him, as you would anything. And then, we'll maybe, as we varnish them and wipe them down with the blue rags, we can even burn those rags and hope we never see them again. I do want to give a shout out for Denise Jones, who every week came, picked up the hundreds of rags and washed them and brought them back. I'm sure her entire wardrobe has a hint of blue, in it for her. And liturgically, a couple things too. We've already started communal singing, and I know it's not fun with a mask on, but we will continue that. Eucharist will be distributed as it has been at the 2 tables, and only under the species of the body of Christ, and as I mentioned before, in the conference room as well. We will begin the processions that we're used to, a gathering procession and an offertory procession, though we will not be taking up an offertory for fear that people, we don't have baskets with handles, and some people may not be comfortable picking up the basket after someone else has touched it. Again, everyone's in a different plane with opening up, and so we want to respect that. So you've been very generous this past year on line giving or walking in, dropping it in the basket and the like, and I'm greatly appreciative for your contributions to keep us going this year, and we'll keep those baskets out there until there's an opportunity to take an offertory up. And another liturgical piece is we will, beginning next week, invite you to give the sign of peace. As you've noticed, we had the communal one, the one that the presider always says, the peace of Christ be with you and with your spirit, and that tends to be the one and only that is truly necessary. We will open it up for all, but the guidelines are, I'd ask you to be reminded of what the sign of peace is and what the sign of peace is not. It is not a greeting. The greeting happened at the beginning of Mass, like when Ginger said, "Welcome to St. Bernadette," opening hymn, liturgical greeting, and I said, "Peace be with you" at the beginning. The sign of peace is really a reminder to ourselves, since we're about to walk up the aisle to receive the Eucharist. Think of Christ saying, "Peace be with you," walking in the upper room after the resurrection. The sign of peace is recognizing the real presence of Christ in the people around you as the real presence of Christ is here on the altar. So it's not a "hi, how are you?" It's just a simple recognition. I would ask you not to extend your hand to people who you do not know, you're out of your household, because you don't know their comfortability to shake your hand. Again, everyone's in a different place. It's just a mere recognition, reverence, sacredness of the image and likeness of God and the presence of Christ in the persons around you. And to kind of keep that for the moment. As time moves on, we will continue to look at this as every church will be, but I just wish to, again, thank you for the cooperation you all have shown, registering, masking, and wiping pews down, and cooperating, and offering yourselves, for the donations here, keeping us going. And I would just ask you to bear with us.